Welcome back to Central News. Using a computer and the internet is almost second nature these days, but many families in our regions cannot afford to own a computer and are missing out on vital digital skills. This is where Computers in Homes comes in. Rebecca Fraser from the Hamilton branch joins me now. Rebecca, thanks for coming on our show today.
No problem.
Computers in Homes, it's been around for over 10 years nationally. What does it entail?
So we work with families who are disadvantaged generally and who have a child at school who don't have a computer and don't have an internet connection. And there are about 3 components to the program. So families pay $50 to come into the program, and then they do between 20 and 30 hours worth of basic training to get them up and running. They get a computer to take home, and they get an internet connection for 6 months and some technical support alongside that.
That's excellent. So what happens after that 6 months?
After that 6 months, they're on their own. So they've got the basic skills. They go on and they do further training sometimes. They do a whole lot of stuff. There's a whole lot of benefits to the program socially that come to those families.
So what are some examples of the success stories that people have had with engaging in Computers in Homes?
Yeah, so there's some obvious successes, like several years ago we trained a guy through the Computers in Homes course who went on to become a computer technician 4 years later. So there are some obvious benefits for him in doing that course and for us. But some of the really amazing benefits have been the social benefits. So one of the schools that we worked with recently was talking with me about the parents who came onto the course, and they used to stand out by the school gate and they wouldn't come through the gate. They were a little bit nervous about coming in and talking to teachers. The kids pestered them really to come onto the course. They said, Mum, if you come onto the course we'll get a computer. So they came in and they built some real connections with the school. So from those families, I know at least one of them has gone on to become a Board of Trustees member in that school. So there's been some huge advantages just from the connections that were made. And I think one of the places we're running the program at the moment is an organisation called Link House in Hamilton, and it's an organisation that works with single parent families. So we know that for families who are below the poverty line in New Zealand, 60% of those are single parent families, so it's a really disadvantaged group. And I was talking with one of the mums who has come onto the course through Link House, and she said she's a typical single mum, so she works really, really hard. She struggles to put good food on the table for the kids. You know, she doesn't have a lot of money, and she's also studying as well, so she's super busy. And when she's got an assignment to write for university, she gives the kids dinner and she puts them in their jammies, and then she picks them up and takes them off to university to type up her assignment. So there's real benefits like that, where she's going to be able to have a computer in her lounge and make some real advances, I guess, for her whole family by being on the course. Yeah.
So it's more than just the Computers in Home services, it is connecting the community and helping them socially.
Yeah, it's absolutely about connection. The computer's just a tool, but people who have been on the course, sometimes it's the first time in 20 years that they have sat in a classroom, that they've engaged with some learning, that they've got a certificate at the end, and they stand up there in front of their kids and in front of sometimes, you know, a larger family group, and they it's amazing just to see the pride that comes from being able to make that engagement with learning. Yeah.
And I understand another big drive for Computers in Homes is for the fear of children being computer illiterate. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think we forget in society that while a lot of people have computers and it's second nature almost to type something in or to update your Facebook or whatever, there are a whole lot of people who haven't got those skills to practice. And I know at schools children learn how to work computers and they learn the basics, but unless you've got something in your home, you don't practice that stuff. So you go on through high school and perhaps you disengage early because you're not getting the same kind of results that other kids do. And you can go through your entire working life without using computers, and yet the world's changing and people really need to have those skills. So yeah, we're working on general computer literacy for children and for their families.
Because there must be a bit, how does the digital divide come into this area then?
Yeah, that's the gap between the people who are used to doing stuff on the computer and the people who simply, and there are a lot of people out there still who haven't ever turned on a computer. And that's basically the digital divide, is that gap between the people who have got it and the people who haven't. And it's not going to go away unless we actually put some real investment into those people who haven't got those skills, and into the families where those skills are not frequently used. And that will make the difference, I think, for our future generations.
Now, I understand that in Hamilton there's quite a heavy focus on the Enderley area, and that this area is quite heavily populated with gangs. Is this taken into consideration when deciding what families need computers in homes?
Yeah, absolutely. Gangs thrive in areas where there is poverty and where there is deprivation, so we go into those areas. I mean, it's not just Enderley, but a lot of the areas we work in, and we put a different kind of investment into that area. So we work really closely with communities and with schools who identify the families who are trying to make positive change, and we get in behind those families and give them a bit of a boost.
That's excellent. Now, just before we finish up, can you tell us about the Wi-Fi project that's coming up?
Yeah. So one of the things we noticed, particularly in the Melville area where we worked, is that families were not able to access the internet component of our program because they didn't have a telephone line, because it's actually the $40 to pay for a telephone each month was too much, and families who did sign up to it were getting into debt. So we're wanting to work on a solution that means that they don't have to buy that telephone connection each month, but are still able to access the wider world through the internet. So we're looking at some wireless infrastructure going into that community where people can use the internet on a prepay system, like the prepay phones, so they don't get themselves into debt, but they're still able to access internet services.
That'll be really good, because that telephone connection fee when you don't really use a phone is a bit ridiculous.
It's a high cost every month for families who don't have any money. And then, of course, you don't just have to pay for the telephone, you have to pay for the internet connection on top of that, so it becomes an even bigger expense. And we don't want families getting into debt.
No, not at all. Well, thanks, Rebecca, for coming on the show and telling us about the wonderful things that Computers in Homes is doing in the Hamilton area.
No problem, thank you.
For more information, check out their website, computersinhomes.org.nz. After the break, Amnesty International celebrates 50 years of freedom.